I think as a result of Kyrie Irving opting into his contract, a lot of people think that in order for a player to reaffirm their commitment to their existing team, they need to opt in to their player option. And that isn't necessarily the case. The Washington Wizards made a lot of moves today, and their star player just opted out of his contract to enter free agency. We're gonna break it all down for you guys. Don't panic if you're a Wizards fan. There's a lot of ways that this could go. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. If you think I talk too much on this channel, we also upload reels on Instagram, which is shorter versions of this content. And we just restarted my TikTok page at TheFlightMike. If you followed it before, you probably have to follow it again. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I'm really happy that it took me a minute to start this video because the day started with the Washington Wizards making a pretty big trade, and I wanted to discuss this pretty big trade with you guys in this video, so it just worked out perfectly. And a lot of people weren't necessarily sure what the direction of the Wizards franchise was. So the way the day started is the Washington Wizards finalized a trade to acquire Denver's Will Barton and Monte Morris for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Ish Smith. Now, a lot of Nuggets fans weren't necessarily the happiest with this trade because, with all due respect, Will Barton is a significantly, at least on paper, a significantly better player than KCP is. As much as I would do anything to have KCP back on my Lakers, but you're talking about a guy that was playing like 30 minutes per game, averaging about 15 points per game, who had the ability to shoot 37% from three last year. The issue with Will Barton is his defense left something to be desired, and when you look at his advanced analytics, he wasn't necessarily the most efficient player. In the 2020 to 2021 season, he had negative OBPMs and DBPMs. His value over replacement player was just a 0.1 in 2020 to 2021. Now, that all improved last year, but his OBPM was a 0.4. His DBPM was a negative 0.9. So the reason why this trade was made from the Denver Nuggets perspective, at least what I'm getting, is now that you have Michael Porter Jr. coming back and you're also getting Jamal Murray back, you probably aren't necessarily in need of another player that could give you 15 points per game while playing the guard or the forward position, which is why they traded for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope probably gives them something more on both ends. He averaged 13 points per game for the Washington Wizards this last year, but he also shot 39% from three. His defensive box plus minus was fairly solid when he was a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. His offense isn't necessarily the most efficient. That is what I'm assuming the Denver Nuggets are trying to do here. For the Washington Wizards, it's a no-brainer. They could definitely use some scoring outside of Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, so that's the main reason that that trade was made on both sides. And Zach Lowe actually echoes this statement. Denver has had its eye on KCP for a long time, at least dating to last season's trade deadline per sources, and he's a smoother 3-and-D fit around Jokic than Barton is. With Bones Highland locked in, going from Morris to Ish Smith at backup point guard is a relatively painless way to avoid the luxury tax. Now let's switch gears for a little bit, because I know the primary reason you probably clicked this is because you're a Washington Wizards fan, or you're a fan that's hoping that your team could possibly acquire Bradley Beal in the offseason. Because according to Adrian Wojnarowski, Washington Wizards star Bradley Beal has declined his $36.4 million option and will become a free agent. His agent, Mark Bartelstein of Priority Sports, tells ESPN that Beal is eligible to sign a 5-year max to return to the Wizards or sign elsewhere on a 4-year deal. Bradley Beal could sign a 5-year, $236 million contract to stay with the Washington Wizards, which is an insane amount of money. If you look at Bradley Beal's career so far, I mean, the amount of money that this man has made so far throughout his career is staggering. He's made $177 million thus far in his career, and he could sign a contract that would be more than double that value if he stays with the Washington Wizards. Now, as fans, there's something that we tend to sleep on, which is how much these athletes value money. It's really easy to look at Bradley Beal's career and say, you made $177 million. How much more money do you need? But whenever a team comes at you with a 5-year, $236 million contract, it may be difficult to leave that team. So Bradley Beal, for the most part, has been very torn on his decision so far. No matter what he was going to opt out, this is not the same thing as Kyrie Irving, who was in a much more stickier situation where the Brooklyn Nets didn't want to fully max him out, but Kyrie Irving wanted one more year to run it back with the Brooklyn Nets, so he was happy to do it on $36 million as opposed to, I don't know, getting paid like upwards of 50. In Bradley Beal's case, he's in a situation where his team will happily pay him max contract money if he wants to return. But there has been rumors that Bradley Beal looked at the Boston Celtics, looked at Jason Tatum this past year, and kind of was a little envious of the fact that Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics were able to make it to the NBA Finals. I mean, Bradley Beal has never even sniffed the NBA Finals so far, primarily because during the prime of his career, LeBron James was dominating the Eastern Conference, so it's not really his fault. So you might be wondering, what is the most likely scenario for Bradley Beal? Look, man, I'm a Laker fan. You know, I would love a world where Bradley Beal gets traded in a sign and trade to the Los Angeles Lakers, but that's not going to happen unless the Washington Wizards are willing to take back the contract of Russell Westbrook, which I don't really think they will be, because the Washington Wizards don't need to do the Lakers any favors, and they don't need to trade Bradley Beal to the Lakers. So I think that's a pipe dream as a Laker fan. I hope it happens. But the teams that I think are most likely threats to sign Bradley Beal are probably going to be the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics. If he goes to the Miami Heat, he kind of mitigates some of the damage that's done in terms of the financial hit he's going to take by only being able to sign a 4-year max contract as opposed to a 5-year max contract, primarily because, well, Miami doesn't have any state income tax. So that'll give him at least some type of flexibility in that. But I ultimately think the more likely scenario here is Bradley Beal is probably going to return to the Washington Wizards. He already feels fairly unsure about leaving the Washington Wizards to begin with. And I think that, combined with the familiarity that he already has there with the money that he could potentially get as a member of the Washington Wizards, would probably be way too much for him to pass up on. But I could be wrong. Bradley Beal's case is probably the most volatile case in all of NBA free agency, so I'm going to keep you guys posted. Now, I want you to know that we're very well aware of the absolutely game-changing trade that just took place between the Atlanta Hawks and the San Antonio Spurs. What I want to let you know is there is a chance that that video hasn't hit your sub box. Now, if the video is up at this point, it is going to be in the end screen for you to watch. But if not, you might need to turn on notifications or keep refreshing your sub box so my next video could hit your feed, because we've uploaded way too freaking many videos over the past 24 hours, and we're probably gonna be uploading way more moving forward into the future. If you want an additional means to get notifications from me, then you could also join my Discord community in the description down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload, which will be up in about an hour from now.